Okay, well, all right, we recording? Okay, internet, you just missed a 15-second, 5-second countdown because Michelle took forever to count down from 5. Anyway, so welcome internet out there through my phone, through the whatever is sending it to you, to Broken and Remade. Welcome to everybody in the room. Something you missed out there. I had a whole bunch of people come in that I haven't seen in a while. This is a really exciting week for me because a lot of my old friends, well, they're young friends, but friends from the past came in, and really it was neat. Not that I was tired of the people who have come, I love you too, but I did have to be very excited for a few friends that came in that I haven't seen in a long time. So today's message is going to be out of the book of 2 Kings. That's Old Testament, way back. If you have trouble finding it, look after 1 Kings. That'll help you find it. So that's such an old preacher's joke. Yeah, after Genesis at some point, and just after 1 Kings, you'll find 2 Kings. The wonderful thing about the Bible that we can't forget is the whole book is the book of God, okay? The Word of God. And God used a lot of different types of people in His history to teach us some lessons about Himself. That's really what the Bible is. The Bible is God's book about God, about His relationship with us, and about His ways of relationship, okay? And basically, the whole Bible is important and can teach us a lot of things. So just reading the New Testament is important. It's fun. It's after Jesus died and rose from the dead, which is a very vital thing in a Christian's life. That is kind of the core truth that we have to hold on to, because without Jesus' death, burial, and resurrection, there's really no reconciliation with our God. We would still owe a sin debt. We would still have to be punished for the bad things we do. But instead, Jesus took on that punishment. And that's kind of the core foundation of Christianity. We know that, Even a lot of unbelievers at least know the story, because there's Christmas, there's Easter, there's, so they have holidays out there that remind even the world of there was this man named Jesus that got born, and then there was this man named Jesus who died. Different people believe different things about how he was born and how he died and whether he rose from the dead. But as a Christian person who reads the Bible and believes all the witnesses who wrote while they were alive there that Jesus did come out of the grave and live again, all right, either that or these fishermen and tax collectors and sinful little nobodies stole a body from the Roman government and the Jewish hierarchy in some way, which is an amazing feat, I would think. So these witnesses are either telling the truth or that happened, okay? So I believe these witnesses, and I truly believe there's a man who rose from the dead, who really spent days with people and showed them his scars on his, his hand, and had a sword in his side. It's amazing. I just can't even imagine. I'd love to go back to history and watch that in person, but I have to believe the eyewitness accounts that are written, okay? So a lot of that's in the New Testament, but the Old Testament is still a witnessing of God's work in the world, okay? And in 2 Kings, we're going to go to chapter 5. There's a story there that I think is really, really important when we think of this whole broken and remade ministry thing, okay? Any kind of ministry for help, any kind of even system of help, or any kind of advice we get for help. A lot of us have been through situations in our lives where it took a very tragic turn in our lives, or a very traumatic turn in our lives. Some are abuse victims, some are recovering alcoholics or drug addicts, or have been through life-changing things like divorce. I have depression, anxiety, all these different things. I've been on all kinds of different pills for that, for my chemical imbalances, from both things that have happened through my life that has caused me stress, that has caused issues inside of me, to just people mistreating me and people causing these traumas in my life that have really scarred my memory, because if you look back, there's some bumps in your memory of the road of your life, right? Where things didn't go as planned. They really put you into a dark place. And that happens with me. That happens with you. We're human. And we come together in a group like this to try to support each other, to love each other, to care about each other, to spend time together, to make sure we all understand that we all have very similar needs. And that's real important. Even the world outside of Christianity understands that. That's why you have support groups. It's a very popular way to deal with situations where people with the same kind of background or trouble or struggle will get together. And why? It's because to open up about that with someone else who's been through something really does help to heal us, doesn't it? I mean, I've done it. You may have some friends in your life that aren't part of a support group, but you've shared your story and had something in common with them, and it really bonded you together and made you feel like you weren't alone. And that's something that happens in these moments where we feel very alone. We feel like we're the only ones, like no one's ever gone through this. No one could feel what I'm feeling. No one can understand what I'm experiencing. Those thoughts happen in all of us, okay? But there are people out there. There's a lot of people out there. I'm very thankful for the internet in a way. I mean, some of the internet I'm not thankful for. Interconnecting the whole world has not always been the greatest thing on earth, okay? We all have now a platform for all of our opinions about anything, and we can scream and holler and bicker and do whatever we want. I mean, if you ever read comment sections of news articles, not a fun place to hang out. So it's got its downside, but it also has a very good side to it, that it united us across the whole world to see, wow, there's other people like me. You know, there's movements, like even political movements. Whether you agree or disagree with the way certain political movements happen, the internet's been a place that has brought some common people together. You know, whether it's Black Lives Matter, whether it's the Me Too movement, whether it's even Christians getting together doing Bible studies. You know, so all different belief systems and different ways can unite and come together and find common ground. Whether that's good or bad, I mean, it can go either way. You know, because we sometimes get pack mentality and everyone attacks everyone else. And we see in our country, it's kind of a very divided, angry place sometimes because everyone can scream louder because we all have a platform, whether it's the news, whether it's the internet, whatever, okay? So anyway, the idea is we all have this common thing where there are times we need others. We need others to understand us. We need others to accept us and just love us. No matter what has happened to us, or no matter who we are. And that happens a lot for us, that cry inside, that emptiness. A lot of us have that. In a group like this is made to bring us together because we've got to fill that void with each other to find healing. You know, and that's part of this. And so, like, when people come through the door that I haven't seen in a while and I jump up and get excited, it's such a great feeling. But that's needed for me. Like, that's healing. I mean, just to see someone you haven't seen in so long and just, I love it. So, again, thank you, anyone who hasn't been here in a while, for coming again. And honestly, seeing the people who come week in and week out and the consistency and having spent years with some of you, it's amazing that you're still coming even though you know me better. Some of us, know me really well, and I still can't believe you come. But thank you. I mean, all of that is encouraging, and all of us need that, okay? So this book in 2 Kings chapter 5, this story, okay, it's about a guy named Naaman, and there's also a prophet of Israel in here, Elisha, that we'll see. And we're going to go through this story. In seeking help and in seeking an answer for that emptiness, okay, all of us have it at some point. We're cracked vessels. I always talk about that needing filling. Some of us fill it with substances. Some of us fill it with, sex. Some of us fill it with, even gossip, telling other people, get pumped up. We fill these empty, dark moments with certain things. Video games, that's one of my big go-tos, right? There's sometimes, though, and this is what we're going to find in this story, that we go to find help, and when someone offers us help, we don't want it. Because sometimes the answer to our questions is not a comfortable answer. You understand, like an addict who goes to detox and knows they need help. They have to go through an experience that is not going to feel very pleasant. There's going to be sickness. There's going to be frustration. There's going to be a lot of pain to heal because you've got to get clean before you can get better, right? And that's true also of any kind of life trauma. We have to really get together and really go through the struggle and the pain of dealing with this reality in our lives, but to get through it. Like if you go to a counselor or a psychologist, sometimes that's a very, very difficult experience because you've got to spill your guts. You've got to kind of open those wounds and kind of bleed in front of them, don't you? Like to really pour out the pain, to really tell them. And that's hard to do. Sometimes it's easier to close yourself in your bedroom. Sometimes it's easier to throw on the TV and just kind of cloud your mind. Put on the headphones. You know, for me, I'd go to the machine shop, get drunk, and watch the music playing. I wouldn't have to talk to anybody. I wouldn't have to deal with anybody. I could close myself in so I didn't have to bleed again emotionally. Does that kind of make sense, that terminology? And that's how we like to live our lives. We want to be healed, but we really don't want to bleed to cause the scabs, to cause the scarring. We don't want to go through the process. I wish the bleeding wounds of our hearts could just instantly scar. I wish I could skip the phase of scabbing and still bleeding and having it seep through. Do you get the metaphor? Do you get what I'm saying? That I'm talking metaphorically involving our emotions. It's just like an open wound on our body. It's in our heart, though. Okay. So Naaman is a guy. Let's read the story a little bit, and I'll stop as I'm reading through it. Who deals with this, and he finds out there is somebody who can help him. He finds out there is an answer, but look at his response and the way he deals with this. So, verse 1, it says, "Now Naaman, commander of the army of the king of Syria," and let me preface this. Some people haven't been here in a little bit. We use the New King James Version. It's used at this church a lot. So the words might not be perfectly matching some of the versions of the Bible that might be out there. But just you can kind of understand, follow along, and you'll see. It says, "Now Naaman, commander of the army of the king of Syria, was a great and honorable man in the eyes of his master." So the king of Syria really liked this guy, Naaman. All right? And he was a commander of the army. Now, this is not the Israeli army. This is the Syrian army, right? So this is not Israel. It says, "Because by him the Lord had given victory to Syria." Well, that's kind of an interesting thing. You understand that sometimes through history, God has used enemies to teach lessons to his people to help them grow. It's kind of a weird situation there. And sometimes in our lives, I hate this fact. Okay, I really do. As a human, I hate this fact. There are moments in our lives where some rough things are allowed to happen that cause us to go through something that we need to be built up, to become stronger. Because you look through your history and you look at the things that have happened to you. Has there been moments where it seemed like it was an attack on you, that it was everything against you, and you got through it, and you built yourself up, and you now are stronger than you ever had been before? Something that put you through a struggle, and when you came out the other side of it, you look back and you go, man, I really grew. I'm really strong now because of that. I will never be weak like that again. No one else will ever do that to me again. And there's a situation that can happen in our lives. And God is always looking out for our growth and good. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean he's always looking out for our comfort and happiness. Because if I was constantly happy, if I was constantly getting everything I ever wanted, there's moments in my life where I don't think I would have grown internally strong like I am today. if I didn't go through some of those things. And there's things like that in your lives that you've been through that you kind of wish you never had to go through, but at the same time, you're glad you did, because you today are way stronger internally than the you used to be. That would not have happened without that situation. So sometimes, truth be told, God wants you to grow so he may allow something in your life knowing you will grow. Don't forget that. Because a lot of times when we're in the middle of that, our first question is, why, God? How could you do this to me, God? How could you let this happen, God? It's a very dangerous question to ask God because he sees things a different way than we do. He's looking out for our good. And we have to believe that through faith. Do you understand how important faith is to God? Just believing in him, trusting him. It's like a parent-child thing. There's a lot of times you tell a child no. If a child just devoured cookies each and every time they wanted a cookie, and that's all they ate, their whole entire life, how happy would that child be? If you got to, each and every day you woke up, have a cookie. It's lunchtime, cookie. It's dinner time, cookie. It's the next day, a cookie. You just eat cookie after cookie after cookie. Man, this is sounding good. Michelle's over there about to have just an imaginary sugary coma because she's just thinking of this. What a pleasurable experience. Yes, please. If you don't like cookies, we'll find something else, Green beans. Snap the little... Okay, anyway. Got to get our gardeners happy. A green bean. A green bean. Okay, anyway. You can have a lot of good stuff too. Like if I just ate lettuce every day because I like lettuce, right? Lettuce, but nothing else, okay? What is going to happen to Mr. Cookie Boy? He's going to grow up pretty sick. Huh?
Be a vegan.
Yeah, there you go. Here's the thing. That's not going to be very good for him or her. That will end up in death at some point, a much earlier death than if you ate a balanced diet. I mean, do you get the idea that sometimes, even though our frame of reference is, I want the pleasure, it might not be the best thing for our lives and our health and our growth. So when I tell that child, no, you can't eat that cookie. Eat this. Gerber number 3. Bleh. Butternut squash and carrots. Bleh. You ever watch those videos of babies just spitting it up like I get that. I get that, baby. I don't want no Gerber number 3 butternut squash. Okay?
That was my favorite.
Was it really your favorite?
Yes.
Michelle. Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, dear. All right. Well, I brought up the wrong thing. Well, anyway. Now we're going to have a war in here. It's like, all right, all the butternut squash people on that side. Everyone. Okay, anyway. So you get the idea, though. Like you've seen the videos. You know what I'm talking about, okay? God sometimes allows this. So here we go. The Lord had given him victory to Syria. And it says he was also a mighty man of valor. Now look at this last line. But he was a leper. That's fascinating to me. That's fascinating to me. And I want to apply this a little bit to our lives because this guy was respected by the king of Syria. He was a mighty man of valor. He had victory by God, but he had leprosy, which is like one of the most devastating diseases in this time period. Like leprosy. The children of Israel, when a leper was in their midst, he had to go outside of the camp and stay outside of the city because he was unclean. And if you walked near him, he'd have to yell, unclean, unclean, to warn people to stay away from him. But here this leper is being used by God. Now, how can I apply that to us? We might be sick people. We might not have it all together. We might not be the healthiest. We might not be the most strong looking. We might have a problem in our hearts and in our minds. But we can be used by this God. He's using a leper to be this man of valor and this battler in war. What an amazing thing that is. Now, that's not part of this story, but what a neat thing that a leper, prostitutes were used by God, murderers were used by God. God can use all of us, like every one of us. And so here we go, verse 2. And the Syrians had gone out on raids and had brought back captive a young girl from the land of Israel. She waited on Naaman's wife. So Naaman's wife had a servant. This servant was captured in battle with Israel, and this person was in the midst of Naaman's household. And it says in verse 3, then she said to her mistress, if only my master were with the prophet who is in Samaria, for he would heal him of his leprosy. So this sweet Israeli girl who's captured by the Syrians is serving in the house of this leper guy, and the wife of the leper is with her, and she says, boy, I wish he was healed. What a nice thing. If he went to the man of God, he could find healing. He could find help. I want him to seek out the man of God. And so verse 4, and Naaman went in and told his master, saying, thus and thus said the girl who is from the land of Israel. So Naaman goes to the king. And he explains, well, this girl says that there's a guy I could go to who will heal me. He will help me. He will fix this. Okay, sounds like a good thing to me. Verse 5, then the king of Syria said, go now, and I will send a letter to the king of Israel. So he departed and took with him 10 talents of silver, 6,000 shekels of gold, and 10 changes of clothing. So he just loads up this guy and says, take all these treasures to the king of Israel. Like, take all this money, take all the clothing. I want you to go get help. So the guy loads up all this stuff, has all this gold, all this money and clothing. So it says in verse 6, then he brought the letter to the king of Israel, which said, now be advised, when this letter comes to you, that I have sent Naaman my servant to you, that you may heal him of his leprosy. He goes for help. Go to the king of Israel. This is what I want you to do. Give him this letter. The letter says, this is my servant. I just want you to help him. Please heal him of his leprosy. And it says, verse 7, and it happened when the king of Israel read the letter that he tore his clothes. That's an expression of like feeling horrible, like depression back then. Like an outpouring of, oh, my heart is just breaking for this situation, and I'm upset, okay? So he tears his clothes, and it says that, okay, am I God to kill and make alive that this man sends a man to me to heal him of his leprosy? Therefore, please consider and see how he seeks a quarrel with me. He's like, listen, I'm not God. I can't fix this. Like, the king realizes, the king has all the power of the land. He can do anything he wants with his power. But he looks at this sickness in this person and he's like, I'm not God. I'm not God. And I want you to realize here, okay, listen carefully. Bob's not God. Your pastor or counselor, they're not God. Sometimes they can't get in there and just fix you. You ever notice that? Have you ever gone for help from a person and realized, well, they're making me feel better, but they're just not fixing this? They're not God. See, part of this ministry is to try to show you how God helped me. I want you to know that. And I have to proclaim that. Like, I have to be a prophet or proclaimer. Okay, I'm not talking about a prophet like a fortune teller or a soothsayer or someone who's going to tell you your future, but I must proclaim what happened to me. Like, that's why I want this ministry. That's why I want you here, is to hear the story of, like, how did Bob go from near suicide to standing before you with confidence, teaching, trying to help you and love you through things. Like, that's not something I can do. That's not something a human person could have done for me. I've got to introduce you. I've got to show you to the ways and methods that my God used, because I tried people. I tried alcohol. I tried sex. I tried counseling. I tried pills. I tried all of that. Now, I'm not saying there's not counseling and pills that can help. I'm on pills still. For my anxiety, for my depression, I still need the balance. I still need that. But there was no ultimate filling of these cracks in my life by any person or substance or thing. It just kept ending up empty. And that's what's happening here is the king's like, listen, I'm not God. I can't just reach into you and pull out the leprosy. And I can't reach into you and patch up your scars emotionally. I can't do that. I wish I could. Man, do I wish I could. I know so many of your stories in here. I know so many stories. And there's a bunch of stories I don't know. Some of you have shared with me. I've read biographies. I've read, autobiographies, I guess I should say, and different things. I've had conversations with you. And I'm just emotionally just torn apart inside for some of the stories I know you've gone through. My wife, I'm married to, has a story that I wish I could tear out of her past. But I can't. I'm a person just like you. And any guy or girl who stands before you talking like they've got the answer and they can just fix everything, be careful with them. Because they can help guide you and uplift you, but they've got to help you understand that's temporary. Bob's help's temporary. I will someday just be a memory to some of you. Some of you may move on and just even forget Bob. Nah, you won't. It's Bob. I mean, come on. Memorable. Okay. All right. You might forget Bob. If you get dementia or... No, anyway. Okay. Wow. Okay, I'll edit that out. I'm sorry. I love you all. Okay. I'm a sinful man, though. Listen, here's the thing. And again, I sometimes just rip open those moments of me because I want you to see that I'm just a weirdo human man. I'm not God. This king realizes I'm not God. He rips his clothes. He's like, I can't help you that way. And so here we go. It says in verse 8, so it was when Elisha, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his clothes, that he sent to the king saying, why have you torn your clothes? Please let him come to me, and he shall know that there is a prophet in Israel. Now, he looks at the king and he goes, okay, listen, I know you can't help him, but at least send him to me because I'm the man of God. He doesn't say I'm God. So the king of Israel's like, who am I? Am I God? Can I fix this? But the man of God says, I'm a prophet of God. You know what that means? I'm a proclaimer of God. I am telling you the word of God. I can communicate with God. And I know in my life, whether I'm crazy or not, okay? I'm one of those crazy Christians who believes I know God, who believes I've had communication in a way that I know there's a God, that I've seen people's lives affected by a God. I've seen this evidence. I feel it's the truth. You don't have to feel it's the truth to find me caring about you, okay? I don't have to be like, well, you're not a Christian, so I can't love you because you don't believe in my God. No, that's not it. But I'm telling you, in my life, I've seen evidence of God, and I must proclaim that. Elisha definitely saw evidence. You understand, Elisha, when he became the lead prophet in Israel, you know how he saw that he knew there was a God? This is amazing. He was an understudy, a servant to Elijah the prophet with a J, okay? And he followed him around and he watched some wonderful works. Elijah was able to split water with a rod and do different things. And Elisha saw all that. And when Elijah was coming to the end of his days, there was a word that came to him that said, listen, you're not going to die, but God is going to take you. He's going to take you. And this was a known thing because some people came to Elisha and they said, well, your master's going to be taken from you soon. And he said, shh, I know. But he just kept watching Elijah do his thing at the end of his life. And he's watching him. And Elijah says to him, what do you want from me before I go? And Elisha says, I want a double portion of the spirit that's on you, because he's seen God work on him. And he's like, I want a double portion of whatever God is doing through you. And Elijah says to him, okay, if you see me at the last day I'm here, be taken up before your eyes, you will get that. I will pass on a double portion. God will pass on a double portion to you. So Elijah and Elisha are walking around, and all of a sudden, I don't understand. I haven't seen something like this. There was this chariot as of horses of fire, whatever. Something came from the sky, scooped up Elijah, and off he went. Okay, I don't understand. I've never seen this, but the Bible says this happened, and his mantle, his clothing fell down, and Elisha took it, put it on him, and when he did, all of a sudden he was doing his miraculous works. Okay, so this Elisha, he saw some things. And he was like, all right, there's a God. Now, I've never had that happen. I wish God could call me. I really do. I wish he could just call me up and be like, I am real. Okay, gotcha. I wish he could just walk in this door right now in front of all of us, just glow like a beaming light and be like, believe this, dude. And walks out. I don't know if he uses the word dude. I don't know what Hebrew is for dude, or Aramaic or whatever he'd speak.
I'm sure he's booked along with the times.
Yeah, so I don't know. Well, maybe he'd use the word dude. I don't know. But anyway, if he came in like a glowing light and said before all of us, listen to this dude, he's my guy. Okay, that'd be pretty cool for all of us. And we'd be like, all right, Bob, whatever you say. I'd probably fall and just die because that would freak me right out. But it could happen. It's not going to. Don't be scared. All right, so this is this Elijah. So it says here, so it was when Elisha, the man of God, heard it. Okay, he asked the king about his clothes, said, let him come to me, and he'll know there's a prophet, someone speaking out for God in Israel. Verse 9, then Naaman went with his horses and chariot, and he stood at the door of Elisha's house. And Elisha sent a messenger to him, saying, go and wash in the Jordan River, okay, the Jordan 7 times, and your flesh shall be restored to you, and you shall be clean. That's pretty cool. So all you got to do, here's your answer. You came to me for help. I've gotten in touch with God. Here's what you're going to do. Okay, he sends a messenger to tell him. Now I think Naaman maybe was offended by that. Like, I came to see Elisha, and Elisha sends this servant guy out and says, okay, so here's what the boss says. He says that God told him, you need to go into the Jordan River and wash yourself 7 times. Now, you got to understand the Jordan River was not the most beautiful water in the world. It was not the most wonderful beachfront property. And this guy is like a high and mighty guy of valor in the king's court. And he's like, what are you talking about? And we're going to see that in a moment. So he's at his wit's end. He's like, I have leprosy. I can't get any more dark than this. I need your help. The guy's like, okay, here's your help. Go wash 7 times in the Jordan River. There are times in your life that you get an answer about what you should do. And we have the reaction we're about to see from Naaman. We get an answer, and here's how we feel about the answer we receive. Have you ever gone to a counselor? Have you ever gone to a preacher? Have you ever gone to a friend and gotten advice and felt like this? Get ready. It says, but Naaman became furious. And he went away and he said, indeed, I said to myself, he will surely come out to me. So he sent his servant. He's like, well, he didn't even come out to me. He sent some other guy to talk to me. Does he not know how important I am? Okay. And here he says, and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God and wave his hand over the place and heal the leprosy. So he wanted him to come out and do this mighty like voodoo magic thing over him and wave his hands around and go, boop, your leprosy's clean. So many of us wish that's how it worked with a counselor, with a pastor, with a friend. We walk up to them and say, what do I got to do? How can you help me? I'm hurting. I'm struggling. Please help me. And I don't do this. Whoa. God has healed you. Well, that wasn't a whole lot of help. I want you to call down lightning from the heavens, Bob. I want lightning to just hit your shoes and light up your whole body and make you levitate in the air and just look at me with beaming, glowing eyes and say, be healed. People love that stuff. Have you ever noticed how full arenas get when that guy comes to town? You ever seen TV preachers, televangelists, guys who go out and take their coat and wave it around their heads and they start whooshing their little Holy Spirit power over the crowd and people in the crowd start falling on the ground and flopping like fish? And you're like, whoa, I want that. If there's a God, make me flop like a fish, Bob. Make me flop like a fish. Because then I can be healed. I can throw my walker into the air. I can take my crutches and throw them and dance in the streets. I want that, Bob. Show me the power. So many people will only run after those types of things. They don't want to hear what'll help because it might take some work. You might have to climb into the Jordan River, wash yourself 7 times. I might have to tell you, okay, go home and do this. Go home and do that. Well, no, hang on a second here. Do what? You do it. If you're coming to this ministry for Bob to do something, for you to fix you, I'm not God. I wish I could. I want to heal you. I want to take your heart out of your chest. This is terrible, isn't it? Look at, you're imagining it. I want to take your heart out of your chest. And I know there's emotional scars all over this thing. Some of you are getting really nervous, so it's beating a little faster here. You can see it beating. Oh, settle down. Shh. There we go. Shh. Okay. And there's emotional scars all over this thing. I want to be able to just wipe them off and just put your heart back in and say, all better. Don't you want someone like that? I do. Doggone it, I do. Find me that counselor. I don't care how painful the process is of ripping this chest open, but if they can take my heart out and take all of that away, maybe even take my brain out and wipe those memories off a little bit, kind of take some of those moments away, some of those memories you have that are scars. I wish we had those people. We don't. You will be disappointed in people. A lot of people walk away from those arenas high on life because of how miraculous all this stuff looked. Someone waved their arms. Someone touched someone on the head. Someone threw a purple cloth on their bodies that are prostrate on the floor. We want to see our mighty signs because we don't have to do anything. That's not healing. Sometimes we have to do something. And sometimes a group like this is to encourage you to understand how strong you are. And with that strength, take the next step. Get in the Jordan River. Take that next step. That's what this is about. I want you stronger in your faith of God and your recovery from your scars. I don't want to take them away from you. I don't. Because the progress you've already made, let's not undo that because you've made some awesome progress, haven't you? You have survived some things that you should not have survived. Some of us quite literally. I know some stories of survival. So here we go. Naaman's furious. He's mad. Why can't you just do this? I thought you'd just wave your hand over the place and heal the leprosy. Are not the Abana and the Pharpar, the rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? He looks around the Jordan, he's like, man, send me to an extravagant pool. Like, I want to dip into the pretty place. How many believers want to go to the pretty churches, the big buildings, the gold-laced aisles, the candles burning on the candelabras that look so beautiful with the beautiful stained glass window? That's the place I want to go because it's so much prettier than fighting through this dirt. Fighting through and pressing on through this muck and this mud and enduring through faith with the God of the cross who had no place to live. Jesus had no home to lay his head down. we want to live better than Jesus. We straight up do. And it says, could I not just wash in them and be clean? So he turned and he went away in rage. He ran angrily away from his help. Oh, how often I see that in the church. That church didn't help me. They didn't give me anything I needed. None of them really cared about me. They're not calling me daily on the phone every 2 hours, which if they did, you'd be frustrated and say, they keep bothering me, but calling me every 2 hours. Listen, you're fooling yourself. You're fooling yourself. Or Satan's fooling us. Like maybe it's not even us fooling ourselves. I've been fooled before. I've run away from churches. I've run away from help, thinking, you're not doing anything for me. When really, I wasn't taking away what I was given and doing something with it. I just wasn't. We have a responsibility in all this. And it says he walked away in rage. Verse 13, and his servants came near and spoke to him and said, my father,